Hi everyone, welcome you all. So from today onwards, we are going to start interacting with the different type of UI elements. So on the web page, there are so many elements we can see, and every element is having their own attributes and their own functionality and behavior. So in Cypress, how we can interact with those elements, and also we'll see what kind of validations we can do on those particular elements. So first of all, let us start with radio buttons and checkboxes, how we can interact with the checkboxes and radio buttons. And parallelly, we will also see how we can add different type of assertions on the radio buttons and checkboxes. So for that, I'm going to use one application here. Let me open this application on the browser. Okay, so this is my application. So in this, we have a different type of elements are present. And especially if you come to this particular box, we have some radio buttons are available, and also we have some checkboxes also available, right? So let us see how we can interact with this radio buttons and also checkboxes. So first of all, let us start with radio buttons, and then we will see how we can interact with the different type of checkboxes. So let's go to VS Code editor, and in our Cypress project under E2E folder, I'm going to create a new spec file. So let's create a new file, and I will give name as you can say radio buttons and checkboxes demo dot cy.js. Okay, so this is the file name. So as soon as you created this, so first of all, we need to write our describe block. So I can say describe, and this is not required for now. I can simply say describe. And here I'll specify the description, and I can say check UI elements is my suit name. And here I'm writing one arrow function. And I'm writing one arrow function. Right inside this, I'm writing one it block. So I can say it, and here I can specify checking radio buttons. Okay, this is my description, and I'm also writing one arrow function here, and this function we need to implement. So this is also not required for it block. Let me remove this. Okay, so now we have written describe block, and inside this it block, so here we need to write our test script. So first of all, we need to launch our application. So for that, I'm writing cy.visit is a command. And here we have to specify the URL of application. So I'm just using this application URL. Go back. And then specify the application URL. Okay, so this particular statement cy.visit, which will launch our application. Let me remove this statement for now. So this will launch our application. So after that, what we can do is we need to interact with the radio buttons. To interact with the radio buttons, we can do different type of assertions. We can add different type of assertions. So first of all, we can check the radio button is visible or not. Okay, and then we can select the radio button. So at a time, we can select only one radio button. If I just look at here, there are three radio buttons. One is a disabled state, we can't select it. And first two radio buttons are enabled state. So we can select at a time, we can select one radio button. If you select a female, so this is enabled state. Now, if I select this one, this will go. So at a time, we can select only one radio button in this radio button group. Okay. So before selecting, let us see the visibility status of both the radio buttons. So for that, we need to capture the locator of that particular radio button. So if you look at the first radio button, inspect that element and go to selector hub. And here you can write our own CSS selector to identify that radio button. So if I just look at the HTML of this radio button, you can see tag name is available, which is input. And ID is also available, like female or female or male. So this is ID is available. So I can write a CSS to locate this element by using tag and ID combination. So how we can write it? First of all, we need to write a tag combination, and here inside the tag and ID, right? So tag hash ID. So whenever you use ID for the attribute, let's say you need to use slash and I'll say female. Okay. So this particular thing, let's say male first of all. Okay, this particular CSS is exactly highlighting the male radio button, right? So now let me use this CSS selector and go back to your code. And now how we can get that element? cy dot get, and here you can see we are not getting auto suggestions. So for that, what we can do is we can just add one statement here with this triple slash at the beginning of the script. You can just add, so reference type equal to Cypress. If you add this, you will automatically get all the auto suggestions. Okay, so here I can say cy, I'll get that element first. So cy dot get, you can see now we are getting the auto suggestions. Cy dot get, and here, and what is a CSS we have written for this? We need to use the CSS. So this is a CSS selector which we have written. Go back and then use it here. So this is our CSS selector. On this element, what we need to check first of all, visibility, right? We need to check visibility, whether this element is visible or not. So we need to add one assertion called dot should. I can say dot should, and here we can pass one parameter called b dot visible. So whenever you want to check a behavior of that element, normally we use b dot visible. Okay, b dot visible. B is representing some behavior of the element. So b dot visible means whether that element is visible or not, it will show you. So this is the assertion we put on this particular element. This is one assertion. Now, so let me add a few more assertions on this particular element. So here, this is a visibility. So same thing, we will check for female radio button visibility. So let me just copy this same line. And next I'm going to check the visibility status of female radio button, and it should also be visible. So this will return the visibility status of radio buttons, female and radio buttons. So to run this test, what I'm going to do is I'm going to save it first, and then I'll open the terminal and I'll run this test through Cypress app. So for that, I'm opening npx cypress open. So this command will open the Cypress application. Now select end-to-end testing, Chrome browser, and start. So as soon as you started here, you will get this window. This is in this window, your test will be executed. You can see all the spec files, and whichever spec file you want to execute, you can just click on it. It will start executing your spec file. Now I'm just clicking on it. Now you can see it is started execution, and it is launched our browser. And we put two assertions on that element. We still not selected the radio buttons. We just put two assertions to check visibility of the element. So both the assertions are got passed. This is the first assertion and this is the second assertion. Both have got passed. Perfect. Now, so now on the radio buttons, what is the operation which we are going to do is we will select one radio button at a time. We can select only one radio button at a time in the group, right? So let us select a female radio button. So by default, none of them are selected. So if you select a female radio button, and then male is enable state. Now when I select a male radio button, female is again becomes an enable state. So at a time we can select only one radio button. So we can test like this. Let me just add one more assertion. And here selecting radio buttons. So here we have verified the visibility of radio buttons. Visibility of radio buttons. All right, so now let us see the selection of radio buttons, how we can select radio buttons. So to do this, first of all, we need to get that element. So let me just get the male element. Now I want to select this element, or I want to check this element. For that, we use one method called dot check. So this particular method will automatically select your radio button. But after selection, we have to put one assertion also, whether it is selected or not. So how we will know that? So we'll put one assertion. So I say dot should, and here b dot, in the parameter, we need to say b dot checked. This is the assertion part. So here we are checking should be dot visibility of the element or visibility of the checkbox. And here we are checking the whether that radio button is already checked or not. So here we are already checked. After checking it, the status should be automatically, it will be checked. So this assertion should pass. And whenever you select your male radio button, then what about the status of female radio button here? Female radio button status. Here, what should be the status? It should be not checked, right? It should not be checked. So directly we can put assertion on female radio button. So here I'm selecting the male radio button and then checking the status is checked or not. But after selection of male radio button, by default, female radio button is not checked, right? So I directly add that assertion dot should, and here I can say assertion is negation, like not dot be dot checked. This is a negation of the first assertion. So here we are selecting the first male radio button and then we are applying the assertion. And if you already selected your male radio button, now female radio button is not selected by default. So this is what we are expecting, not to be checked. Okay, at a time we can select only one radio button. All right, so let us try to execute and see now. And for that, I'm refreshing the test. First of all, I'm going to save it. I'm going to save my test. As soon as you save it in the Cypress app window, your test will be re-executed. Okay, now you can just observe. So the first two assertions are related to visibility of the elements. And the last two assertions are related to selection or unselection. So male radio button is already selected. So you can just look at the UI. Here you can see male radio button is already selected and female radio button is still not checked. So our assertion is got passed. Both assertions are got passed. Now we will do the opposite way. Okay, so what I will do is, let me just copy the same two statements. So here we selected we selected male radio button. So it should be checked and female radio button should not be checked. So now what I will do is I will select the female radio button. I will select the female radio button and it should be checked. And if you select a female radio button, then what happens? Male radio button is unselected. So should not be checked. So here we are checking the male radio button is selected or not. Here we are checking the female radio button is selected or not. So two assertions I put. Now save the file once again and see the execution. Now we can see other assertions also got passed. So this time it is selected female radio button and male radio button is not selected. All right, so this is how we can select the radio buttons and we can apply the assertions on radio buttons. At a time, one radio button we can select. Okay, so now let us see one more test. And this time we will try to interact with the radio button. So let me just copy the same it block. And I'll make it another entry. Sorry, just a second. Okay, let me just copy the same it block. And this time I'm going to show you how to interact with the checkboxes. So let me comment this code for now. The first it block I have commented. Okay, so now let us look at the second block. So checking checkboxes. Checking checkboxes. So this time again, I'm using the same application. So now we will see what are all different operations we can do on the checkboxes. How we can select the checkbox, how we can unselect the checkbox, right? So we will see how we can do the different type of operations on the checkbox. So again, I'm using the same application. And if I look at here, below this radio buttons, you can see different checkboxes are available. So we can see 7 different checkboxes from Monday to Sunday. So let us perform certain operations on this checkbox. So first of all, let us check the visibility of the checkbox. Visibility of the particular checkbox. So let us say I want to check Monday checkbox is present or not. So for that, first of all, we need to write a locator for that. So if I'll inspect this element, Monday element, and this is the tag. So here it is. So if you look at here, input is a tag and there is a class attribute, type is also there, ID is also there, right? So let us write proper CSS, and I'm using tag combination with ID. So I say hash ID value is Monday. So I'm using this CSS selector, so which will able to identify this mail radio button. So I'm using this CSS selector to locate the element. Now go back to VS Code editor. And here, after launching my page, I'll get that element. So for that, I can say cy.get, and here I'll specify the locator. And how we can check the visibility. So to check the visibility, again, we have to use same command, should, and here one parameter, that is b.visible. So this assertion will pass if that element is visible on the web page. This is a checking visibility of the element. Okay. Suppose I want to select that checkbox. So in the checkboxes group, we can select multiple checkboxes also. Here, there is a possibility to select one or more checkboxes. So first of all, let us see how we can select individual checkboxes one after another. And later we will see how we can select all the checkboxes. So here we have just verified visibility of the element. And the next assertion is, I will first of all select the checkbox and then I will check whether the checkbox is selected or not. Okay, so selecting single checkbox. So I want to select a checkbox which is Monday. So we already captured this element here by using cy.get. So I'm getting the same element. So how we can select this element? We use a same method called check. Almost radio buttons and checkboxes, we use similar kind of a methods, similar kind of a validations. Okay, so cy.get, and this is a checkbox element .check. So this particular method will select the checkbox, and once it is selected, we need to also verify. We need to put one assertion whether it is selected or not, whether it is checked or not. For that, continue with the should of same command again, b.checked. So this particular assertion will check that checkbox is got selected or not. Okay, so here we have already selected, and this assertion will definitely pass. Or how we can unselect the same checkbox? Unselecting checkbox. If it is already selected, then how we can unselect the single checkbox? Unselecting the checkbox. So to unselect the checkbox, again, we will get the same element, whichever is already selected, we will get the same element. Instead of check, we use one more method called uncheck. Uncheck is a method. So this particular method will uncheck the select box, uncheck the checkbox, which is already selected. Once it is unchecked, what is the assertion we can put here? Should not be checked. Here we already selected your checkbox. So our assertion will be what? It should be checked. But here we are unchecked your checkbox. So assertion will be what? Not to be checked. So assertion is what? Not .b.checked. This is a negative assertion. So here we have selected your checkbox. So our assertion will be checked. Here we are unchecking the checkbox. So our assertion will be not to be checked. Okay, positive test. So like this, we can check visibility of the specific radio button or specific checkbox, or we can also select the particular checkbox. We can also uncheck the particular checkbox, and we can do assertions. Now let us try to execute these three statements and assertions, and then we will continue the rest of the validations. So for that, again, I'm going to save my file, and then the same test will be executed on my Cypress application. Now open this and go into file and then save it. and save. Now we can see Cypress app. It is launching my application. And now observe this. So initially it is already selected Monday. If I just put the second assertion, the first assertion is visibility, right? So first assertion is visibility. If you place your cursor on that particular statement in the left side panel, you can see the first assertion is visibility. Now the next assertion is what? It is already selected. Expected is what? Selected. You can also see there is a tick mark which is there in the UI, which is already selected. After that, what we are doing? We are unselecting and again check the status. That's a third assertion. It is already unselected, unchecked the checkbox. So this is how we can check the visibility of the checkbox and select the state of the checkbox, unselect the state of the checkbox. And parallelly, we can also add assertion on that element. Okay. Suppose I want to select all the checkboxes at one time, or I want to unselect all the checkboxes at a time. Then how we can achieve this? So we also have a direct methods. We no need to write any loop here. We can directly select all the checkboxes and we can also uncheck all the checkboxes. So let me write selecting all the checkboxes. Selecting all the checkboxes. So for now, I'm just commenting the single checkbox. So now we are going to work with the multiple checkboxes. How to select all the checkboxes? So to select all the checkboxes, we need to first write proper locator, which will able to point all the checkboxes, which will able to identify all the checkbox element. For that, we need to write a common locator. So let me write one common locator. So first of all, let us try to inspect one of the checkbox and see the HTML tags. So this is the input tag, which is the first element under this label. And if you expand this, input is a tag and the class is form check input and the type equal to checkbox and ID is Monday. So ID will be different from one checkbox to another checkbox. So we can't rely on the ID to get multiple checkboxes. So if you look at the tag name, almost tag name is same. If you look at the second element also, tag name is same. Class is also same. Type is also same. So tag, class and attribute. Type I can use an attribute. So tag, class and attribute. So with this combination, we can write a CSS selector which will able to match with all the checkboxes. So let us try to write one CSS here in the selector hub. So first of all, let me write the tag. So what is the tag here? Input is a tag. Now, what is the class? Form hyphen check hyphen label. Say form hyphen check hyphen label, right? So this is a class. Tag class. And the tag is input dot class is form check label, which is because it is a class, we need to start with the dot. And attribute, whenever you use attribute of the element, we need to keep in the square bracket. So what is an attribute? We can use type equal to checkbox. So here I'll say type equal to checkbox, type equal to checkbox. So it is pointing to 0 element. Let me cross check once again. Input is a tag name. Form hyphen check hyphen, it is not label actually. So you can see class value is form hyphen check underscore input. It is not a label, it is an input. And type equal to checkbox, perfectly fine. So now exactly it is pointing 7 elements. Those 7 are what? Checkboxes. Okay, now we need to use this CSS selector to get all 7 elements. Let me capture this. Go back to your VS Code editor. Now I'm using the same command, cy.get. So the get command will get you single element or multiple elements. We do not have a separate method to get multiple elements. Right? In Selenium, we have a find element and find elements. Similarly, we do not have here multiple methods. We have only one method called get. So based on the locator, if the locator is matching with one element, it will return one element. Or if the locator is matching with multiple elements, it will return multiple elements. So here I'm copying the same locator. So this will get you all checkboxes. And once you get these all checkboxes, I want to select all of them. I want to select all of them. Simply, you can use check method, direct method is applicable. Because whatever elements we are getting here with this command, if you want to select all the checkboxes, simply call this method, check method. This will automatically select all the checkboxes, whichever you captured here. And once you selected, what kind of assertion we can put here? All checkboxes should be selected after executing this command. So one single assertion for all the checkboxes should be dot checked. Be dot checked. See, even though it is a single element, same kind of action and same kind of a verification point or assertion. Even if it is written in multiple checkboxes, same kind of a method will select all the checkboxes and same kind of assertion. So this method will select all the checkboxes, and this assertion will check all the checkboxes. Will check the status of all the checkboxes, whether it is selected or not. All right, so this is how we can select all the checkboxes on your application. Let us execute and see whether it is selecting all the checkboxes in your application or not. So let me save the file and open the Cypress app. Now you can just look at here. It is launching my page. Now you can see here, it is selected all the checkboxes one after another. And also assertion is got passed. For all the checkboxes are got selected, my assertion is also got passed. And suppose I want to unselect all the checkboxes. I want to unselect all the checkboxes. Simply what you can do, instead of doing this, we can simply say unselect. Instead of check, we can say uncheck method. Uncheck. Okay. And what is assertion now? If you are selected the radio buttons, the assertion should be dot checked, because we are expecting it should be selected. Now it should not be selected because we already unchecked all the checkboxes. So it should not be unchecked. So the negative assertion, not dot to be, not dot be dot checked. So if it is selected, this is a assertion. If it is not selected, if you are unchecked the checkboxes, then it should not be selected. So this is a assertion. All right. So now let us try to execute. Both the assertions are passed or not. Let me save the file and see the Cypress app window. Now we can see the second assertion. The first assertion is selected all. You can just look at the application. So we can time travel here. Whenever you put the cursor on the particular assertion, it will show you that status. And when you put the cursor on the first assertion, all checkboxes are got selected and my assertion is also got passed. When you move my cursor on the second assertion, all checkboxes are unselected. Now my assertion is also got passed because I'm expecting checkboxes should not be selected because we already unchecked them. Okay, so like this, we can select all the checkboxes at a time. We can unselect all the checkboxes at a time. Okay, for example, I have 10 checkboxes. I have 20 checkboxes. Now I want to select the first checkbox and the last checkbox. Okay, so then we have few more methods are available. So how we can select? Okay, let me tell you. So how to select the first checkbox among multiple checkboxes? Here you have collected multiple checkboxes, but among them I want to select my first checkbox. Okay, select first checkbox. So to select the first checkbox, what you can do, first of all, we will get all the checkboxes by using this command cy.get and the locator which is matching with multiple checkboxes. So we got all the checkboxes. Now we want to select the first checkbox. So here, instead of writing check method directly, if I select check here, this will select all the checkboxes, but I want to select only first one. So here, before check, we will call one method called first dot check. So this particular method will select first checkbox in that list. Now, similarly, if you want to select the last checkbox, then here you can say instead of first, you can say last dot check. So the first command will select the first checkbox and this command will select the last checkbox in multiple checkboxes. Okay, now let us execute and see once again. Now I have saved and it is executing on my Cypress app one more time. Now, if I just look at here, the first checkbox is Monday, which is got selected. Now the last checkbox is Sunday, which is also got selected. All right. So like this, we have to use different methods. And again, if you want to put some validation, after checking should be checked or should not be checked, you can also add validations here. So let me add this validation. So here we are selecting the first one. So what is the assertion we can put here is dot should be checked. Dot should be checked, because here we are already selected. Same thing here also, should be checked. Now let me save and run once again. So again, it is loading my application. Now you can just look at here. First and last checkboxes are got selected. My two assertions are got passed. So like this, we can handle the radio buttons and checkboxes. In the radio buttons, we can do only check, because if you check one radio button, the other radio button automatically unchecked. Or suppose if you selected the second radio button, the first one is automatically unchecked. So no need to do uncheck here. But in case of checkboxes, we have to do check and also uncheck, because we have a choice of selecting multiple checkboxes here. So visibility of the element we can check, and we can also select a specific checkbox, one single checkbox. We can also select multiple checkboxes, or we can select first and last checkboxes, and we can apply the assertion on those checkboxes. So this is how we can handle radio buttons and checkboxes in Cypress. All right. So that's all for this video. So in the next video, we will discuss few more topics. Thanks for watching.